Burblin' Bubble Buddies, this is internet personality Vangelus, and the Walmart exclusive Transformers Retro Deluxe Class Seaspray is also most likely to appear again as a Transformers Generations series to be updated later when relevant Deluxe Class Seaspray with a different cartoon-based head sometime in the future. Either way, the Retro series pivoted to focus on Deluxe Minibots, and that put it directly into my sights.
This video has been sponsored in part by TransformersTCG.org. Fan continuation with fresh designs and physical card availability. Now featuring newly refurbished international shipping options to combat the tendrils of the modern world's logistics despair. Through the power of Canada, the 2026 goodies pack can now be shipped to Australia, Malaysia, New Zealand, the Philippines, the United Kingdom, and Canada, with more items yet to come. Find out more on TransformersTCG.org and use code VANGELOSANGELOS before July 6, 2026 to save 5% on your coffee storefront order. Playing the cards supports the channel. Supporting the channel feeds the machine.
Our freshest Seaspray has the pot-bellied, boat-footed body that one would expect from a retro-themed rendition, slightly less friend-shaped and slightly more aggressive-looking than his cartoon appearances, as though he were being portrayed by Vincent D'Onofrio. Colors are a tad muted, but still well within the realm of a sunny day at the beach, with a surprisingly granular level of paint detailing on his little front-facing kidney vents. As part of the Retro series, this head sculpt is going for the more drone-like toy design, and I could see a world where this simply adds 2 tampographed eyeballs to the visor in an eventual redeco, but hey, we'll see. Maybe they'll even figure out a way to BS him into Studio Series. Seaspray simply includes a gun which is coated in a pleasant sheen of silver paint. Aside from fitting into a 5mm fist hole, it can also mount on the 3mm peg found on the side of Seaspray's clavicle armature. This is just vehicle mode storage that's still accessible in robot mode, but it does have a bit of a look. Shoulder-mounted death Seaspray with his Predator cannon or something. There is a ball socket neck here. It's just not very wiggleable. It has a tiny bit of knottilage, and despite the huge armature around it, it's not too hard to get in there with a finger and a thumb and start twisting. I would just say don't expect to get a whole lot of emotive tilting. Just little hints of it here and there where you can get those angles to happen. The shoulders work as one would hope. In fact, they can not just T-pose, they can Y-pose. So that's kind of impressive. And there is a bicep swivel with a slightly, actually way past, holy moly, way past, I kept thinking this thing was going to end around here, because I just haven't really posed his arms doing a whole lot before this segment, but that is a nice tight single hinge. Anyway, the bicep swivel is neat. There's a hinge on the wrist to go up and down. It's riveted. There's no wrist swivel, just this. This is kind of something that kinda helps the transformation, but not in any way where I ever consciously actually use it. But if you ever were to get a sword or something, that could be neat. Or, if you're pointing your gun and you want to be just a little bit fancy about it, then there you go. The waist rotates happily, and the legs have a skirt sculpt attached to the moving part. So it goes up and down with them. It goes, well, it does actually stays entirely in place when you do this, because that's not part of the moving bit. The annoying thing is, sometimes with this clearance here between this skirt bit and some of these hunks, there are times where stuff can start to bump together. Like right here, that leg can't go up any further. And I could see it being pretty easy to scar, mar, and scratch the white skirt plate paint on either side at the top of the hips. The thigh swivel is just yellow plastic on yellow plastic, so whatever. The knees actually oddly lock in there with a solid little moment, but without it, they just, they bend. There's a hole, but they bend. The ankles have a little bit of tilt, and then there's again down here, there's some transformation jointery that you can use to get a little bit of forward and backwards wiggle. There's a tab here that's supposed to go on the top of the roof of the alt mode. It kind of never really does for me. It just sort of implies that it's supposed to rest there, but it doesn't like hard lock in. So there's a lot of motion in the ankles, but nothing that is singularly major. Overall, the articulation on Seaspray is completely adequate. It just, something about the hips, something about the ankles, something about just the little collisions that happen here and there can get a little bit annoying. Also, you can do this. Someone probably has a use for the shoulder axis being able to wiggle back and forth. And you can like open his spine, I guess, and you could put like an M&M in there if you want to, or a little stone, lucky rock, a tiny, tiny skull. I think it's amazing how much the arms change shape with a simple 180-degree swivel at the biceps to become the sides of the alt mode, but geometric simplicity is not the name of the game for the rest of Seaspray's morphological process towards becoming a hovercraft. The feet do a whole lot to inflate on the bottom, and order of operations is a bit important if you don't want parts to pop off as you go. Similarly, the shoulder axes need a bit of clearance before they can pivot and revolve, and the head needs to be turned around way back at the start of the transformation. It's not a difficult conversion scheme, it's just stumbly and finicky in ways that I found surprising for a G1 Seaspray type who essentially lays backwards while pointing his toes. I'm not complaining, but I wish it had some of the peaks of tactile satisfaction that I find in other modern minibots like Windcharger or Gears. Seaspray's hovercraft mode is downright sexy up front, forming a cohesive, flat shape with a freshly grown, bulbous bumper bottom that aligns happily with the former robot arms. The freshly revealed and insigniaed silver panel is a fun treat, and the overall visual solidity is delightful to look at, which is why I find the rear end so middling. Seaspray's head is just floating there with his face buried in a panel, and the whole propeller armature is rooted in a greebly array of mechanics that look like they slid off the back of the alt mode right before all the interlocks solidified. Less a critical failure so much as an unfortunate burden stuck onto a superior main body. We saw the weapon storage before, but I really need to call out the fact that this is the only weapon storage, despite a truly massive chasm of space beneath the front of the hovercraft, a cavernous void whose lack of any pegs or friction-gripping divots for the gun is outright baffling to me. It clearly fits in there. This is the kind of engineering spice that I used to take for granted. At least the propellers can spin on their low-friction pinned connections. Whee! Yay! Whee! Seaspray is a perfectly fine deluxe minibot whose initial release under the Walmart exclusive label of Transformers Retro created an initial hype that led to an inflated sense of FOMO and expectation for the little guy. He's cool! I'm glad I was able to just pick one from a rack full of Seasprays over here in Canada last year. But much like Windcharger, he still doesn't achieve the Gears tier, and unlike Windcharger, he doesn't have a Prid Viacon moment either. A totally solid piece who clearly retained a lot of fans post-release, but for me he's less of a standout and more representative of the modern minibot's commendable average. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and my boat stays afloat in part thanks to the support of all my Patreon, Coffee, and YouTube membership crewmates as we sail the seven seas in our armed hovercraft.